Hi, I'm Dean Walker, founder of a small outpost here in the interwebs called Living Resilience. I'm here in this video to introduce you to the latest iteration of our most recent course offering. It's called Islands of Sanity in a Mad World. This course and all of the offerings of Living Resilience are designed to be of service to the world's collapse-aware and collapse-acceptant communities. Rapid succession of significant events since September of 2024 have compelled us to redesign and reassess all of our work here in Living Resilience, not once, but three times. We started up Islands of Sanity in a Mad World, the year-long course in September of 2024. And now I'm speaking to you in March of 2025. So we're midway through that course. And we've had three major rounds of retooling, redesigning this course. So I want to give you some context for that and tell you a little bit about it, see if it's something that could be useful for you. The human-caused collapse of both Earth and human systems has so accelerated and intensified in the past year that it is now inarguable that we, meaning all peoples of the earth, including all of the hyper-privileged people like us here in the USA, now find ourselves in the midst of collapse. It's no longer conceptual. While we will keep you apprised of the signs and causes of collapse that we see along the path of this course, for now, I'm inclined to just mention two recent significant signs of our having crossed a global threshold, boldly indicating the self-terminating track that we all are on. The first is a glib comment made by our co-president, Elon Musk, in a recent interview. It's an articulation that could easily have come from any of the four prominent elements of the current presidential administration. Yeah, I'm asserting that there are four different uh, team segments that make up this presidential administration. The first could be called Trump and his hand-picked sycophantic cabinet. The second is the Christian nationalists who drafted the Project 2025 agenda and are staffing all levels of US governance at lightning speed. For more information about that, we've done a three-part podcast series in our YouTube channel called The Poetry of Predicament. We highly recommend that you check that out. If that Christian nationalist and their influence over the past 50 years or so, culminating in their absolute domination of this long game that they've been playing. So in any case, that's the second of four elements that make up the presidential cabinet in the first year of Trump's second term. The third of four elements is, I like to call them the tech broligarchs, who bring immense money and an intricate plan of their own to replace what's left of our democracy with a tech-driven monarchy. The fourth of these four elements that I'm asserting make up our current presidential administration is a zero-sum, perverse incentive-driven race to capture the gold ring of advanced AI tech, a race that will accelerate all measures of human climate disaster, resource depletion, and overshoot, while promising to bring heretofore unheard of levels of oligarchy and poverty to societies around the world, including the USA. So, what I'm about to show you is a very brief video clip from a recent conversation between Joe Rogan and Elon Musk. And it's it's just a telling indicator of each of those four elements, those four team segments that make up the current presidential administration and other governmental influences recently installed. It's a telling feature of how humanity is seen through the lens of each of those segments. So, in particularly, it's a comment on the role of empathy in the human condition in general, but especially in 21st century global culture.
The fundamental weakness of Western civilization is empathy. The empathy exploit. They're exploiting a bug in Western civilization, which is the empathy response.
So my sense is that you can get a sense of what I'm getting at in terms of Elon Musk's orientation to the whole notion of human empathy. And he's obviously trying to contextualize his view of empathy as sure, some amount of empathy is a good thing, but we don't want to let it get out of hand so that it gets in the way of business or the way things work in this capitalist system and in this particular interpretation of what government should be doing and how it should be operating. So I wish I could tell you after watching the entire 3+ hours of that Elon Musk and Joe Rogan interview. I wish I could tell you that he indeed has a more empathic core to him, and he was really misspeaking when he was saying that empathy is actually a bug in the human operating system. But I know pretty clearly he laid out in a number of different ways that was a very intentional and deliberate articulation of his point of view. And I would again suggest that some version of that is also the point of view of those four different team elements that come together to make up the Donald Trump um, operating system in this new administration. So I would like to offer you a contrasting voice. And I've got a brief quote from the author of a book called Braiding Sweetgrass. Her name is Robin Wall Kimmerer. And I'd like to suggest that we could all drink in a refreshingly different view of human possibility, a different way of assessing humanity's true gifts and strengths. Not only since really the beginning of humanity, this has been as important a thread as any in our human history, but especially now in these times. So just a brief quote to bring a little balance to Elon Musk's assertion that empathy is the greatest human weakness. We hear so much of, well, do you have hope? And I ask, hope for what? For me, it's about helping people fall in love with the world again. We know as people the power we have when we really recognize our love for someone or something. So again, a balance. Robin Wall Kimmerer and Elon Musk. With Robin Wall Kimmerer's quote, kind of get a sense of what's out on the horizon as we introduce this work of living resilience. So we sometimes call it the inner work of collapse. It takes real work to claw our way back from the empathy-free zone of Elon, Donald, AI, and the Broligarchs to remember our core interrelatedness with all things. The second significant recent event in our path toward deeper collapse is a report from the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries in the University of Exeter in the UK. Got a question for you. If you've been around this collapse aware or this climate change conversation in the past, upwards of 10 years, and for some people, decades, have you ever wondered what it would take to have the world, governments, corporations, and just plain folks actually pay attention and get into remediating action regarding climate chaos? We, of course, have only increased our killing emissions of greenhouse gases every one of the past 30 years of conferences of the parties, of COP meetings. One way to paraphrase that or to summarize those 30 years is we don't give a shit. Well, that's taking an easy, cheap shot at all of humanity, kind of lumped together en masse. And turns out that no one really gives a shit until they're told by people who hold existential level influence over the entire global economic system what's actually going on. One group who has that power is insurance actuaries, the people who determine if a particular element of our financially driven world is insurable. If it is not, then it cannot be included in our financial dealings anywhere on Earth. In this report, possibly the first time ever to have this core climate data and projections included, the actuaries suggest a permanent addition of these climate-related measures of damage and impact on both Earth systems and human systems to all future actuary reports. That's very positive and not a moment too soon. But the really big news in this report comes in the form of one of the possible future outcomes projected in this report. This is one possible outcome of little or no climate mitigating action, just like we've done in the past 30 plus years of little or no climate mitigating action. So if we continue doing that, which we've done or not done for 30 years, the possible outcome of continuing on in this fashion is a reduction of global GDP, gross domestic product, economically, a reduction of global GDP of 50% or more. You'll notice along the top row in this graph, the extreme level of human-caused climate damage under the heading human mortality, a possible loss of 50% of global population or 4 billion human deaths. This is also estimated from the projections in this report to be occurring in the approximately in the 2050 to 2060 realm of this century. This is the reporting and projecting of one of the most conservative yet most influential associations of financial professionals in the world. We consider both of these recent additions to our 24/7 fire hose news cycle to be very significant and most disturbing. So that again, it was the summary brief statement from Elon Musk as to the importance or lack of it of empathy in human nature and the recent report and possible future actuality of having half of the global population uh, killed off by our ever increasing damage to our atmosphere called climate change. That could be happening as soon as 2050 to 2060. And it also reflects an increase of the temperatures from 1.5 now to 3.5 degrees C above uh, pre-industrial average by 2050, 2060. So now perhaps we can speak a bit about the work we do and offer here in Living Resilience. For 10 years now, we've been doing our best to prepare ourselves and others for times exactly like these. Please stay with this video to see if you might benefit from participating with us in some of our coursework or deep dive support group offerings. Welcome. We've got an elevator pitch for the work we do here in Living Resilience. We offer transformative support, resources, and practices to the collapse-aware and collapse-acceptant communities around the world, which, of course, we are all facing human-caused collapse of both Earth and human systems. The shorter version is that Living Resilience can be considered the inner work of collapse. We've been offering courses, resources, and support groups for more than 10 years now. And I've just got to say that this year, 2025, is the first year that I've seen even the hyper-privileged countries being boldly confronted with the imminent reality of collapse and both our global habitat or Earth systems and our human systems. While the human-caused collapse of Earth systems has been abundantly obvious for decades with climate chaos, acceleration across the globe, wildfires, flooding, drought, hurricanes, topsoil depletion at extreme levels, permanent reduction of fresh water supplies, diminution of mineable resources, dying coral reefs, collapsing fisheries, diminishing numbers of birds, insects, ocean fish, phytoplankton, and all large-scale wild animals, just to name a few elements of this multi-crisis. Now we have an explosion of national governments that are virtually owned by corporations, devolving into authoritarian oligarchic enclaves and promising to clamp down on what little bit of aliveness and agency we less than wealthy people have left. With both Earth and human systems collapsing and the growing domination of a coalition of powerful authoritarian elements, Christo-fascists and a cadre of Broligarchs, supercharged by the influx of AI. There has never been a greater need for small groups of people to come together in the spirit of community, mutual care, regenerative living, and just plain keeping each other sane. This inner work of collapse is an opportunity for each person in a circle to curate their own resources and be present in the face of ever-growing stressors. Some of this inner work can only be done alone. Other practices are best done when space is being held in the circle by kindred spirits. The core orientation of our work is for each of us to reclaim our own felt sense of home or center. Our business as usual culture was long ago designed to have us separated from that inner sense of home and center. We invite you to come to our Living Resilience online community space and check out our courses and support group offerings. If possible, join us in the next monthly first and third Saturday Zoom sessions. This is a fine way to dip your toe in the collapse-acceptant waters. This whole video is really about our newest online course, Islands of Sanity in a Mad World. Each month from September 2024 through September 2025, and probably beyond that, we offer 2 1-hour Zoom sessions on each of the first and third Saturdays in that month and each month. Those first and third Saturday sessions are scheduled for 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific time. Then we take a break from 10 to 10:30. And then session two, the second 1-hour session goes from 10:30 to 11:30 Pacific time. These sessions are intended to be a safe place for sharing the sometimes challenging emotions woven into our chaotic world. An island of coherence or sanity in a world that is on a self-terminating track. They're also meant to be a place to learn advanced self-regulation and co-regulation practices, as well as advanced group facilitation, space holding, and communication skills. All of these Saturday sessions are recorded for later viewing if you're not able to participate live in a given week. Along with those Zoom sessions, there's a course materials section of our Living Resilience online community space. Some of you will recognize this as a Mighty Networks online space. Here you'll find a small curated list of course materials focused on the theme of each month in this year-long experiential course. You'll also find recordings of all of our Saturday sessions, a private chat or sharing space for the exclusive use of our participants of Islands of Sanity in a Mad World. There's also access to additional related resources ranging from mental health and self-care to collapse acceptance and spiritual support. In terms of how you might enhance your experience here in Living Resilience course and support space, you might consider engaging in a journaling practice if you aren't already. You might consider inviting sympathetic friends or relatives to join you in this long-form course path. This could also turn into a small book club or support group in your own area. Whatever your choices may be, we wish you well and hope that you find just the right kind of support to ease your travels on this predicament-laden path. So once again, Welcome to this year-long course and this fledgling online community of the Collapse-Aware and Collapse-Acceptant folks in countries around the world. Please look in the show notes to find links to all the living resilience offerings mentioned here and more. One last quote to ground us, to give us a North Star to which we can orient ourselves in this inner work of collapse. Of course, it is the quote from Jiddu Krishnamurti. It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Thank you so much for your attention and for whatever you're doing to bring yourself back to center, to be able to be of service to those you love, to be able to be present in the face of ever-growing stressors. In whatever way you're doing that, in whatever way you are of service to those you love, we wish you the best in these times of extraordinarily challenging events dropping on a daily basis. Our best wishes to you, and hope to meet you soon in some living resilience offering. Bye for now.